have the panel discussion, European market access through Hub.Brussels, an overview of Belgium startup ecosystem with Arne Aertbeliën, area manager for Invest Asia at Hub.Brussels, and Dharanidharan Sivasamy, foreign direct investment officer at Hub.Brussels. This insightful session will be moderated by Mr. Prajeet Prabhakaran, Director of Startups at the High Power IT Committee, Government of Kerala. Arne Aertbeliën will share his expertise in fostering international investment and connecting startups from Asia to the European market. Dharanidharan Sivasamy will provide insights on the role of foreign direct investments in driving economic growth in Belgium, particularly in its startup ecosystem. Let's look forward to hearing their valuable insights on how startups can leverage opportunities through Hub.Brussels to scale and expand into the European market. I request all of you to come into the stage. Please join me in welcoming all of three to Huddle Global 2024.
Hello. Yeah. So welcome to the another session on this Beyond Border region. Before that, I would like to thank all the audience, all the founders who are here to spend your valuable time for the 3 days of Huddle Global. This is the third day. I know you are here from the first day and you had a lot of networking sessions and all. I hope the whole Huddle Global event went well for you. And this Beyond Border Zone is the region where we have the discussions from the representatives of the 16 countries. And this is just for you guys to help you understand what are your possibilities in those countries. And we have the representatives, the officials from the land of chocolates, Belgium. So when I come to Belgium, I have a specific thing. We have a very strong relation with the Belgium region. Why? Because I don't know how many of you are aware about the Startup Infinity program that we have. So it is kind of a launchpad program by the Kerala Startup Mission, wherein accelerator, kind of a launchpad by Kerala Startup Mission is set up in a foreign country just to help the founders in Kerala who are keen to explore their market in that country. And that launchpad will support the founders from Kerala to expand into that region. Likewise, the HNIs based out of that country, they can use that launchpad to avail the support of Kerala government, Kerala Startup Mission. So, Brussels, Belgium is one such country where we have the Startup Infinity. Hub.Brussels is our government partner who is helping to scale the startups from Kerala to the Belgium region. We have Mr. Arne, who has got the responsibility of supporting the startups in the Asia region through Hub.Brussels to scale into the Belgium. And we have Mr. Dharanidharan, who is working specifically for India with the Indian startups to make sure that Indian startups are getting an ample opportunity to scale in the Belgium region. So, but before deep diving into the panel discussion, they would like to showcase you about what their ecosystem is, and we will have a very brief presentation of Belgium startup ecosystem through Hub.Brussels. So inviting Arne for that presentation. May we have the presentation, please?
Will this work? Yes, perfect. First of all, thank you everyone for being here. My name is Arne Aertbeliën. Me and Dharani, we just flew in yesterday evening from the polluted city of Delhi. So I'm very happy with the palm trees and the clean beaches that I'm seeing here. Unfortunate that we couldn't make it earlier. We have been actually in conversation with Kerala for quite a few years now. As Prajeet rightly mentioned, we have the Kerala Infinity Center. And it's actually the first time as well that I've come down southwards as much as I have. Although I lived in India for 3 years, I've never been this southwards. So seeing Trivandrum, Kovalam today, I hope I get some time to see some of the famous sites over here as well. But having said that, we'll deep dive for about 15 minutes in a little bit. What is Brussels? What does Hub.Brussels do for startups who want to enter the European market? And afterwards, we'll have a brief discussion with Prajeet and also with you together as many questions as possible. So stay tuned. We'll go very fast. Afterwards, there's plenty of time to interact, I would say. So first of all, Hub.Brussels. We're a government agency for the Brussels region. We do three things. First of all, we help foreign startups create an entity in Brussels region to access the European market, and we help them with the registration or the incorporation. We help them with accessing funding and grants. We help them with hiring people. We help them with visa questions. We even help with finding a school for your children if that's something you're looking for. Second of all, once you're a Brussels-based company, you can access the whole local ecosystem just like the local startups can. That means all the information sharing sessions, all the activities about becoming a better entrepreneur are all available to you free of cost. Third of all, we help you grow abroad. It's very important to know Belgium is a quite small country, 11 million people. I mean, compared to India, it's a tiny dot on the map. But it means that we have an extensive experience into scaling up into Europe, because our startups are in the same situation as any foreign startup is looking to enter Europe. We need to scale up from day one. So we have all the tools available for you to achieve the same. So why this presentation? I mentioned Europe already a couple of times. It's still one of the key world markets, 440 very affluent customers for your products or your services. It's a top source of talent and innovation. And very important, something I recently discovered, it's a key market for emerging countries. So actually the EU buys more goods and services than US, China, Canada and Japan combined. That is excluding fossil fuels, of course, but I guess very few of you would be active in that sector. So it's a very open market. It's a market that's welcoming to startups from India as well. So Brussels, this is a small map of Belgium. Brussels is the blue dot in the middle. We have three regions: the Flemish region or the Flanders region in the north where they speak Dutch. We have the Walloon region where they speak French. Brussels is bilingual, so French, Dutch, and English. It's the capital of Europe. We have a lot of foreigners as well, so it's in our day-to-day reality to interact with people from all over the world. So Brussels, 1.2 million people. Again, quite small. I think Trivandrum is 1.8 million. I was just checking earlier this morning. Quite small, but the advantage is it's a very connected city. I mean to say you can cross the city in 40 minutes time with reasonable traffic, I would say. And that also makes it easy to meet people in the city itself. There are so many policymakers and important people who are there to take decisions for the whole trade bloc on a daily basis that you could just run into them in the street and have any conversation you're looking to have. 62% of people are born abroad. That is just behind Dubai, the most international city. So it's a very small city, but very international, making it easy for you also to blend in from day one. You'll not be a foreigner, you'll not be a stranger. There are plenty of Indians also present in Brussels. And also for your business, if you're looking to do business in several of the other European countries, you'll find all the talent that speaks multiple languages. Even in our headquarters, a lot of people who speak not only Dutch, French, English, but even German, Arabic, Italian, Spanish. Any combination you're looking for, people usually have 3, 4, or 5 languages on their CV. There's a famous sentence in real estate: location, location, location. It's the same for doing business in Europe. Brussels or Belgium is based straight between all the major economies, being France, Germany, the UK, and Netherlands. It makes life easy to tap into all these markets, making your commutes easy. We have a very famous train station in the south of Brussels, through which you can take a train and be in Paris in 1.5 hours. You can go to London in 1 hour and 50 minutes. You can go to Amsterdam in under 2 hours, to Germany in less than 2 hours. It's literally the best connected train station in the world. So that means in the morning, if you decide I want to have tea with a partner at the Eiffel Tower, you can just do that. No security checks, no stress in the airports. It's all just available for you there and then. Another important, I just spoke about personal travel for your goods as well. Belgium is the logistics hub for entire Western Europe. Oh, yes. Thank you for mentioning it. Better. So, for shipping your goods into Europe, Belgium is also an excellent place to be. You'll see the 3 biggest ports, Rotterdam, Antwerp, and Hamburg, are all really nearby. And for air cargo, the same situation is the case. Schiphol, Charles de Gaulle, and Frankfurt are all very near. And the circle you see, it represents 75% of Europe's GDP. So many of you heard the stories about, oh, Ireland has such an attractive tax system, or I heard in Estonia I can create a company by just 5 clicks. Honestly speaking, yes, you can do all of that, but if you want to be close to your customers, it might not be the best decision. As you can see here on the slide that I'm showing you, if you want to meet them face to face, Europe is still a little bit traditional in that sense. We want to see people before we trust them. So if you want to see people and you need to meet them, it's no better place to be than in Brussels. So yeah, I already spoke about Brussels is not only the capital of Belgium, but also of the European Union. So people who are in sectors that are very regulated, these days almost any sector is getting more regulated, I would say. It's a really accessible place to get all the information to stay compliant, and you'll find also a lot of professional service providers, whether that's consultants or lawyers, to make sure that you're not getting into any legal trouble. On top of that, there are a lot of international excuse. ChatGPT just set up a center in Brussels just a few weeks back, and I think they're also looking to collaborate with startups who are in the AI field. So that's quite interesting. There are 200,000 expats who are working on legislation day in, day out. And there's also plenty of diplomatic delegations. So even India has a big embassy, not only for Belgium, but also to address the European Union. So a lot of world leaders are flying in every few weeks. A lot of blockades in the streets for that. So that's a little bit the downside of this, but plenty of opportunity to meet with policymakers on very high levels. When you say startups, you say innovation. Now, interesting thing about Belgium, something I also discovered while making this presentation a few months ago, we are actually the country that spends the most percentage of its GDP on innovation in the whole of the European Union. Before Sweden, before Switzerland, it's about 3.44% of our total GDP, making it top 5 worldwide behind countries like Korea or Israel and Taiwan. The main sectors in which this innovation flows is the life sciences, the digital field, green tech, and audiovisual. Now, why is this the case? It has to do with our tax system. I will come back to that in one of the next slides. So, for attracting the right talent as well, 25% of all the students in Belgium are located in the Brussels region, 25% of the tech startups, 62% of people have higher education degrees, and as I said, English is kind of a widely used language as well. So coming to the tax system, the EU average is around 21% corporate tax rate. The top 3 highest are Malta for 35, Portugal and Germany. The lowest, also very famous for Chinese investors, I would say, who I also meet, Hungary, Ireland and Lithuania. Now Belgium sits in the middle with 25%, nothing remarkable you could say. But there's something, if you take one screenshot today, make it this slide, there's something very interesting in innovation going on. There's something called innovation income deduction. It can reduce the 25% corporate tax all the way down to 3.75, which is kind of tax haven level, you could say. Now, how does this apply? If any innovative companies are creating IPs or patents in Belgium, all the income that is generated from those IPs is taxed at this rate. So that's the reason why many of the pharmaceutical giants like GSK, Pfizer, they have all their R&D done in Belgium. They're basically almost untaxed, you could say. Other countries as well, the Netherlands, France, the UK, they have similar regulation in place, but their tax deductions are not as aggressive. As you can see, at the max it will go down to 9 or 10%. Germany, for manufacturing or other things, it might be great, but they don't have this incentive. So when you're thinking innovation, don't overlook Belgium. I know many of our neighbors are very famous. Germany or Netherlands will come to mind for many Indian startups I speak with, but we have a role to play. There are other tax rules also available. I don't want to bore you too much with those for now. Pioneers in circular economy, people who are into the clean tech field as well. There are very ambitious goals to reduce the emissions by 40% by 2030. There's a big fund called Horizon Europe of 95 billion euros, which allows startups from, I think, even India and Europe to collaborate on projects jointly and apply for funding and grants. And for Brussels in particular, we see a lot of startups who are in the field of battery recycling, battery testing, ESG certification, ecological construction. So if you're in any of these fields, there's a good chance that you'll find like-minded other startups. So with that said, that's a short overview about Brussels and its advantages. Now, maybe some of you are interested, what does it mean to live in Brussels? I'll give a few insights on that as well. So Brussels is quite affordable compared to the bigger neighbors, Paris and London. The real estate costs are about half of what you would pay over there. I myself, I live in a beautiful Art Nouveau house, something similar, as you can see on the right, for 800 euros a month. So it's not bad, I would say. The same for your office as well. If you want to have an office in one of the prime city locations, the Avenue Louise, which is a famous shopping street, or in the historical city center, you can start renting from 300 euros a month, which is quite reasonable. It's about 3 times less as Paris, or 40% less than Amsterdam. For your family as well, we've had some founders who want to shift with their entire family. There are a lot of international schools for the expat community that is there, so you can enroll them in the UK system, the US system, the French system, and so on. There's plenty of trees and parks, and 75% of your hospital fees are covered by insurance. So health insurance in Belgium is mandatory. It's regulated by the government. And that was one, as I lived in India, it was one of my main worries here. Like the private circuit, they have all the equipment, but you'll never know what the bill will be once you get out of the hospital. You can go to the government site, and there you will not know if they have any equipment at all. So in Belgium, the quality of the healthcare system is extremely high, and at the same time, most of the cost is covered at a very low cost. Also for education, there are very affordable rates. So India in Brussels, many people are asking, are there other Indians in Brussels? Yes. Definitely 10,000 of them in Brussels, 25,000 in Belgium. Many of them, especially in the northern part from where I'm from, they're in the diamond sector. In Brussels, you'll find more people who are into Tata, Infosys, more the consulting type of activities. There's also a bilateral chamber of commerce called BICI that brings together the Belgian businesses that are doing business in India and vice versa. There's even a cricket competition for those who are interested in that. Facebook communities. Plenty of dining and food opportunities. My girlfriend as well is from northeast of India, so she's able to find all the groceries she needs. And I'm eating Indian in Belgium almost every day. And there's also plenty of Indian companies in Brussels, as you can see on the slide. So I will give the floor now to my colleague Dharani. He will go over the practicalities on how to set up in Brussels and what advantages you'll get after you have set up. Thank you.
Hello everyone, thanks for joining us. I hope my colleague Arne, he gave a bit of background about what Hub.Brussels is, what Belgium can offer for the Indian startups. I will just quickly roll over through the presentation, maybe in less than 4 minutes, so that we can have more interactive conversation going forward. So once if you say, okay, I already have an idea about moving into Brussels to cater to the entire European Union. So I would just go through what are the steps to go, the practical point of view, how can I create a company and how can I move there. So you would have think about starting a company in Dubai or Singapore or maybe in Estonia. The starting steps are really simple. So there's no minimum capital requirement for a company. That means literally you can start a company with €1 in your bank account. But we strongly advise to have at least the capital required for at least a year. And then it's 100% foreign ownership for your company. So that what it requires is it can be an Indian person. That Indian person can live in India for 100% of the time. So that means you don't need a local director there. And then we support the companies initially who are really early in the stage in Europe without having paid customers coming from Europe. We don't recommend the companies to start renting out a crazy office space, maybe not even a co-working space. We promote the companies to go virtually, and then I work at the consulate in Mumbai, so we help them with the process of getting the visas. And then you travel for Vivatech in France or Medica in Dusseldorf or maybe Slush in Finland, and then travel during that time, set up all the meetings, and then once you feel like, okay, like I have enough paying customers, I have enough money coming into my bank account in Brussels, and then not burn a lot of cash from Indian like investors or like your revenue. So you can still go with the virtual office. And then setting up time, like in the same process, how you open up a company, a private limited company here in India. It costs like 30,000 Indian rupees a year, but it costs maybe 10 times, maybe 2.5 lakh Indian rupees. But I will explain like what are the other grants, like what we could provide for like easing down that burden as well. And then, so once you're a Belgian company, so from day one, if you have a VAT number, and then what are the other supports, like what I can get from the Brussels government. So we are a Brussels government agency, so we are not a consulting agency, so that we don't raise invoice for any of the supports what we provide for the meetings or anything. So when I say like these 5 points, like it comes as a shock for most of the Indian companies. For example, like international fairs, like I believe like Kerala Startup Mission provides a lot of support for going for GITEX, for example, or like maybe Slush, they take a lot of delegations for Vivatech. Similarly, we have like supports for Brussels companies going international, but like we do across the globe. We don't have like in the trust sectors, like we go directly, or like we go in the country banner as well. We will have a Belgian pavilion, for example, in Arab Health Expo, or like Gulf Food Expo, or like Vivatech. Wherever we can't be directly present, we have the other two regions. You would have seen in the map, like there's a North Dutch-speaking Flemish region, and then the South French-speaking Wallonia. So they support us wherever we are not there. And New Exporters platform, you can be an Indian exporter exporting to the globe, sitting from India for like 5-10 years. But like it's an altogether a different kind of regulation when you're exporting from Europe. So we have a platform called New Exporters. So our internal colleague would go through, help you through with the legal process of like starting from the labeling regulations till how to find your customers, how to even draft an email. So you can even use that. And the network of attaches. So that's a different one. So wherever like, in our understanding, whenever we see an Indian embassy or Indian consulate, we just think of, okay, like just do visas and then maybe like birth and death certificates at the maximum. But like that's not it. Like there's a third department, like it's called like the trade department. I wish you to reach out to the Indian counterparts, my Indian counterparts working elsewhere. I've asked the startup leads, okay, like try sending an email to my counterpart sitting in Paris or maybe Brussels, stating that like you are like entitled to send an email, okay, this is my GST number, I'm a startup from Kerala, and then could you find me, this is my ideal customer profile, could you find me a list of potential customers for me? In principle, they have to do, but like practicality, I will leave it to you. You can just give it a try. But like with our network, we have 27 offices, direct offices where like the trade commissioner is there. That's my like my N+1. But we are like present elsewhere like with the indirect partnership. So that means like if you are a Belgian company from day one, you have the same support of like maybe a 40-year-old Belgian company. You can, if you are reaching out to like US, for example, like we have 2 offices in New York, one in New York, one in San Francisco, or maybe Sao Paulo. So you can just write to our attaches, our offices. There'll be someone like me sitting there, and then like he would be helping you with like scrutinizing your go-to-market strategies, or like supporting you with like finding local customers there. And then the fourth one is like princely and economic missions. So next March, like we have the Belgian princess traveling to India. So she's not coming alone. She's coming with an array of like maybe close to 200 plus Belgian companies she will be traveling along with. So we are like, you can mark your calendars. It's in the first week of March, 3rd, 4th in Delhi, and then the following 3 days in Mumbai. So like 200 Belgian companies will be traveling. So that in sense, like this year we have like close to 10 Indian companies who opened offices in Brussels. So they are also eligible to travel along with the princess delegation. So they are eligible for all the B2B networks, the meetings, dinners, and everything. So it will be like, on an average, it will be 3 to 4 like princely missions in a year. So you can choose like where you want to go. This year, like last week it was in Brazil. And then just before it was in Turkey, it was in New York, Australia, Japan. So you can be part of that one as well. And then the last one, funding. So I think like I have a slide like in the back, like which I could explain. So these are the 3 different like verticals what we work on. One like for the funding and grants. So either what for the equity or like the grants. So we have like 2 different agencies which can support like the finance and invest. What you see on the top left is like the equity investment arm. So it's like 70% owned by the Brussels government and 30% is like the private companies participating. So they are part of like 50% of all the fundraising happens in Brussels. And then if you are already into R&D, if you want to like create a cutting edge technology in Brussels for the European Union, you can still like contact our colleagues at Innovaris, so we will be happy to put them in touch with you. They provide grants somewhere between like 50,000 euros to 750,000 euros. And then for AI companies, the success rate is more than 70 to 80%. So that means if you are into AI field, you can pitch your product to them. If there is a scope of improvement, they don't grant funds for if it's already completed project. If you are like completed 30% and then there's still 70% scope for improvement, you can apply through them. And then the other one is like you will be eligible for that 3.75% tax rate. And then the clusters, like we are like in the middle, like hub, like we work with all the clusters in the peripheral. It can be life tech, eco-build, circle made, like hospitality, audiovisual, and then so we have like one cluster head for each. So like every company would be a part of the cluster. So you can be a part of the member like once you're from day one. And then we have like several incubators as well, like thematic ones, but like it's not like a generic one, like more sector specific ones. ECAB is for like digital, BLSI is for life sciences, so you can still like be part of that one as well. And there's this FARI. FARI is an AI institute, so they are like one of the boon for like the Brussels entrepreneurs like who want to work with the AI. So they work closely with the University of Brussels, and then like it can be like more academia and industry partnership one. So like when I saw it, okay, like it was like 2.5 lakh Indian rupees to set up a company. So you can just scan this one, and then if you're one of the 3 thrust sectors, like if you're a startup in life sciences, digital or sustainability, you are eligible to apply for the My Welcome package. What My Welcome package is, it's a soft landing kit like how other countries would provide, but this would be covering at least the initial incorporation cost about like 1/3, but you'd still have to spend like 2 lakh or something for the incorporation. But you don't have to pay for the business creation, you have to pay for the consultant for the business creation. Also, you can use for the HR support. If you yourself are like moving to Europe for running the company, or if you want to hire a researcher or a sales marketing guy, you can still use this one. And then expat service, there was a founder from Chennai who recently established his company there, but like he's moving with his entire family. He was one of the 5 companies who got the welcome package last year, and this year he incorporated a company. And we helped him even to finding an office space, and then like finding a school for his like 5-year-old. So you can still use that. And then this is open for all the companies in the state sectors. But like our core competitions are open for everyone. So if you say, okay, like I'm in the middle, so I'm not really convinced by Brussels or like by Europe. I want to travel and see and prospect, but you can still use our office space. Like we have a incubator space where we will be hosting like the Kerala Startup Mission Infinity Center program. You can just access that for 3 months, and then like you'll get all the personalized supports from the experts, like be it like how to go to US or like how to apply for funding, what are the marketing subsidies and everything. You can still open, and then there's a detailed list of partner networks from starting from consultants till like real estate agents till like lawyers and everything. You can access that one as well. So it's open for everyone. I'll just briefly go through. You can ask questions like how for the funding part, but I'll just go for the visa part, like the most important questions I get from the Indian founders, more practical one as well. So if you're traveling for less than 90 days, you can still apply for a business visa. We give you, if you come to us and say, okay, like Dharani, I want to travel for Viva Tech in France, and then I would be open to come to Brussels for like 5 days just to prospect. We can issue a letter of invitation, and then you go to VFS, and then drop your passport there, and then give me the reference number. I can follow it up, and then like, if the file is really complete with all the papers, it'll be a breeze, like where you will get the visa like in maybe less than a week, and then it's for like less than 90 days one. And then if you're thinking more long term, if you're sending employees from your Indian company there to Brussels, for them it's work permit. Like you have to get, like it takes a little bit time. It's not just for Belgium, it's for the entire Schengen, it's the entire rules. And then if you're moving as an entrepreneur, if as a director of the company, you would have to apply for the professional card. So it has to be like you apply, and then like go to an interview at the consulate in Mumbai, and then you get that. But like it's for the residential one. But we strongly recommend companies not to make a move fully, but like use the partner networks, use the Hub.Brussels team there, and then create like more incoming business, and then start with moving there. So I believe like I've answered like most of the questions in the presentation, but like we'll be happy to have like more questions. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Arne and Dharani, for the very detailed overview about the Hub.Brussels activities and the support that you are giving to the startups globally to scale into your country. It's like the time is 12:25. Maybe we can have a quick 20 minutes of panel discussion, and then we can have the Q&A sessions. So I think that most of my questions that's for you. We have already covered them. But again, I would like to ask each and everything very specifically, because the founders over here, they would be very curious to know about some of the aspects when we think about the startups. Of course, the first is funding aspect. The second is like, will there be an opportunity for my startup to get some good business opportunities, maybe with the corporates or maybe with the government entities in your country? And then, what are the kinds of market access support? Most of my questions will be revolved around that. So before that, we discussed about the Startup Infinity program, and even, Dharani and Arne, they mentioned about some aspects of Infinity Center. But Arne and Dharani, I would like to hear from you both. Since we are discussing about the Startup Infinity Center to support the startups from Kerala to the Belgium region and maybe across the Europe, how do you think? How can we make this happen? Like, is there something that we can do beyond giving the space to the startups in your office, or something else? Maybe you can go, Arne.
Yeah, as you rightly mentioned, Prajeet, the space is just a space. You can have it. You can have a chair basically anywhere around the world. It will not amount to much. But basically, what we would advise you, if any of you are interested in Europe, get in contact with us and let us know what your ambitions are, what your product or service is about. And with our combined experience working with a lot of Indian startups, and our knowledge about the European market, we will be able to give you an initial assessment of, is there a market fit for your product? Because if we see from the start it doesn't make sense to enter with this product or service into the European market, we will be quite candid with you and advise you not to go ahead. So we are working for the government. It's something that Dharani hammers on all the time, and it's true. We don't get incentives or so for having more companies to come to Brussels. We want to see you guys succeed. So a failed business for us, or bringing people on board who are not going to succeed in the European market, is bad PR for us in the long run. So we want to make sure in our initial conversations to see, can this product or project succeed in Belgium, and if that's the case, how do we go about it? So the first part would be to connect you guys with the clusters. We spoke about it a couple of times, but what does that practically mean? Well, for example, the life science cluster, they have around 300 members, and they bring together all the hospitals in the region. They bring together all the researchers from the universities that are working on certain topics. They bring together all the other startups and the Brussels legislators. And basically, they organize a lot of events around the clock to make introductions happen. They actively work with us to introduce new startups into the ecosystem as well through, for example, immersion programs. Sometimes you take startups for 3 or 4 days into the Brussels region to meet with all these hospitals and doctors, and they will be able to pinpoint you into the right direction. We're quite generalists, I would say. We work on a lot of different sectors and projects. We don't have that much in-depth knowledge. But the clusters is where the practical hands-on approach happens and where the introductions can be made. Once the introductions are made to any of the larger corporates or research institutes, you guys can take the discussion ahead and see for yourself. But basically, as a startup going into maybe a smaller ecosystem like Belgium, the big advantage is that the connections between people are very short. I know a lot of the clinical directors in Brussels in first degree. So for us, it's really easy to make things happen quick. And after you have established a certain connection with people and have business coming in, you can look at other markets and expand over there, but the initial phase is probably the most critical one where things need to happen fast and in an efficient way. So that is where we hope to make the difference. And that space for 3 months, yes, Kerala Infinity Center, it will reduce your cost. It will put you right next to my desk, so I can keep an eye on you guys and take you around Brussels every day if necessary. So that makes that makes life easy, I would say.
Great. Dharani, in your presentation, when you were mentioning about the visa process, right, and you specifically mentioned like if I want to attend the VivaTech event in Paris, I can apply for your visa, and probably you can then support me in getting connected to that, attending in that VivaTech. So my question to you from that front is like how does Hub.Brussels help a founder not to just scale up in the Belgium region, but probably all the possible markets for the founders that he aspires to be in, especially in the European region.
So the visa part is like common for all. So if you're gonna apply for 15 days of visa to travel into Schengen region, so you have to apply for a region where like you spend most time in. For example, if you're gonna spend time like 10 days in Germany and then like 5 days in Belgium, but like you have to apply for the visa from the German mission. So that's one. Like when I say about like giving invitation letters and then like supporting travel from like France to Belgium, because like I'm based out of India and then Arne is based out of Brussels. So like if you already tell me like a month in advance or like maybe 3 weeks in advance and then say, okay, like I'm coming there and then like, can you arrange me meetings for like starting a company or consultants for like helping me with moving? We can still do that as a practical ground reality point of view. And then when it comes to like reaching out for the other regions, so like go-to-market strategy would differ from region to region. Like the same GTM, like what would work for the Western Europe doesn't really work in the eastern part of Europe. So I used to live in Europe for 4 years. Arne used to live in India for 4 years. So we form a like proper like team together. So I'm working for like Hub.Brussels for 8 years. So literally 12 years I'm spending more time with my European counterparts and European colleagues. So we have like more like the gist of what can be done, what should be done. So we help like startups, even like from the startup from Chennai, even from Odisha, and then like the other startups, like we are constantly in touch. On an average, we speak with, I don't know, like during our roadshow, we met like more than 200 startups in 5-6 days. So we met like diverse set of companies. Some companies we stopped from going. Some companies like who have the real potential, but like they're not really interested or like motivated to go abroad. But like we have to push the companies. The other set of companies, they don't have a lot of like a technical know-how or like not a refined project for Europe, but are really bullish about going into Europe. But like we have to like stop them, like, dude, like it's not really refined, and then like if you go, like you will burn all the cash and then like come back empty-handed. So we are like doing that as well. Like it's more like personalized support. So what you see is the invest team for Brussels. Like he takes care of entire Asia, I take care of. So you don't have to deal with a lot of like the complicated bureaucracy or red tapeism. So we give like proper like one-to-one conversation like wherever possible, and then with the network offices, like they can, for example, like the startup founder from Chennai, he traveled to Netherlands, like to Belgium and then to Netherlands. So he contacted directly our trade commissioner based out of Netherlands, and he said, okay, like I'm coming with but you have to be really clear, like what's my ICP looks like, what's your ideal customer profile looks like, what's your like potential partner looks like. If you're really clear with what you want, we can help through like the warm introductions. We can just say, okay, like to Deloitte, I think like he made an introduction and then like it went really far. And then even with the bankings or like the funding agencies or for the granting ones or for the angel investors, we can, if you are really clear about like what you want, we can like actually make the warm introductions. It's up to you to convince people on the other side of things about your service or product. So yes.
Great. So from the scaling up and the expansion thing, and coming specifically to the funding aspect. So most of the startups, they have a lot of aspirations about scaling and entering in the European region. But when they land in Europe, probably the first thing that they look into is like how to get the investments for my startup idea or startup product, whatever it may be. So in that terms, how is the funding ecosystem, maybe the government funding and the VC funding or maybe the angel investors clusters. How does all that perfectly work for a global startup when they start in Belgium region?
So yeah, that's a question we get all the time indeed. There are two different things. One is venture capital, of course. That's for startups who are already cash generating. In the best case, you already have customers in Europe. I would say that makes your chances of getting a European VC on board a lot easier. The second thing is innovation grants. We spoke about it shortly in the presentation. That is if your product is not ready yet. These people, is also a government agency that we're working with, they're interested to know if your technology is revolutionary, if it's going to shake up the market enough. They're not so much looking for profitability. So either if your product is ready, you're already doing business, we will introduce you to our VC fund from Brussels, which is called Finance and Invest Brussels. It's a public-private partnership. Why is that important? They have the same objectives, or they have to be cash positive at the end of the year. But at the same time, they're a long-term investor with very good connectivity with the private VC system. So these people, they came with us to India, I think, even to Kerala 2 years back. They're interested, or they would be able to not only look at your file from their point of view, but they can also make all the introductions necessary to any sector-specific VCs that are active in the whole of Belgium. And these guys, they have funded 50% of all the VC rounds in Brussels last year, just to give you an idea. So they never invest alone. They always bring people and expertise on board, but they're basically the ideal entry gate into exploring the entire VC ecosystem in Belgium. Their rounds, they usually start from, 100,000 euros up to 5 million. If you want bigger ticket sizes, we can also introduce you to other people, but that's usually a comfortable start. So that's on the front of VCs, so the Finance and Invest, they can take it forward. Mainly with them, you have to show that there's product market fit, and they would also be interested to know what are your plans for Europe, because what they many times tell us, if it's just going to be a sales office or a sales operation, it's very hard for them to fund that. On the other hand, if you're a startup who's in the field of technology and there's maybe a new spin-off of a product that you're looking to launch specifically for the European market, and you can put that IP into the Belgian entity, that's where they get very interested. So to come back to the Chennai founder, it's a perfect example. He's creating a platform for helping big corporates with sustainability reporting, specifically for the European market, because in 2025 that regulation is coming into force. So there's a huge need for it. This product will not work in India. It's specifically tailored for Europe. He puts the IP into the Belgian entity, which is a subsidiary of the Indian one, and then there's interest. There's something on the table to discuss and where people can invest in something substantial. So that is on the front of VC. Innovation grants, as I mentioned, it has to be cutting edge, it has to be revolutionary. Same thing, the condition here would be that most, if not a part of the research has to happen in Brussels. So again, we're not asking you to shift your entire R&D team to Belgium or so, but if there's a new product or service that you're thinking about, or adaptations that have to be done to make that product ready for the European market, that's where things get interesting. Maybe you could think about a collaboration with the university that they will facilitate, and the funding can serve to hire a researcher that will work on that specific project. They worked on project basis, so if there's a project for 1 or 2 years, they will give funding between 100 or 50,000 and 700,000 euros, depending on what the scope of the project is. Very important also, they do screening very early on. They have something called Test Your ID. It's basically one-on-one conversation with you guys to guide you through all the different possible funding that is available, and to see that, to give you a good idea of how likely it is you will receive the funding. So 70% of all the applications they receive, they approve. But there's a lot of conversation that happens before that. In order to not give you guys false hope, not to give you guys false promises, they want to make sure if the documentation is done and the conversations are had, that you can be certain that things will move ahead. So those two pillars are very important. And on the angel side as well, there's a business angel network in Belgium. They're also a very close contact with us, so we can also introduce them to you.
to add to this one, like this is more like the investment scenario in Brussels and in Belgium. But there's another one, like a big umbrella, like what we are not like mentioning in the presentation. It's so the European level funding and the tender market. So there's a fund called a Horizon Europe Fund. So it's a 95.5 billion euro fund. So it works in like different vertical like climate change, citizen wellness, digitization. So you are still eligible to apply for those kind of funds. You can still apply as an Indian founder, Indian startup, but like you should have a local European a partner. So they will eat out into a lot of profits. So like DST is part of this, Department of Biotechnology is a part of it. So if you're part of that one, you can still go to the Horizon Europe platform and then you can still start looking at the open projects. So it will be really demarcated. So it will be a specific problem statement associated with the number, and then they will have a proper deadline, and then it will say, okay, like this is a 4.5 million euro fund. You are eligible to apply for that. Like we have an internal team. They help us in help you in applying for like either the tenders or like the European funding aspect as well. So there are two things, like one for the Belgium specific one and one for the entire EU one.
So following up on that question, like you mentioned about the VC ecosystem, angel investment ecosystem, and then the grants, government funding support. Specifically, when we talk about the Indian startups, right? So we will we will think about the trust factor will always be there. Like if there is a Indian leader there, right? Who can help us in getting some connects over there, who can possibly be the first investor when we go there. So maybe that trust factor will always be there before getting into the global VCs, right? So what is the possibility of having a HNI cluster in the Belgium region, so that when we think about creating a cohort of startups and get them to Belgium region, these startups can be introduced to that HNI cluster? Is there a possibility through the embassy, or from your experience, what do you say?
It's a good idea, but like we never thought in that lines actually. So it's a nice one. Like maybe like I can pass it on to the federal one, because it's at the federal level. Because like whatever like investments or like the fiscal point of view, we work for the regional government. So whatever like these ones, like it has to go through the federal level. But like you have seen, like the ambassador was here last year, like exchanging the MOU, but like he couldn't come this year. But I will pass it on to them. And then like as I told, like during the Princess Mission, I will invite you and then Mr. Anoop as well. So you can come and put it across the table, because like we'll have all the decision makers, like the maybe like member of parliament, and then like maybe Secretary of State from Brussels would be there too. And then our General Secretary would be there, but like we can still explore, but like there's still a possibility. If you have a network of Kerala, like HNIs there, we can still like do a one-on-one session with them, like what are the practical support like they require from us. We'll be happy to do that as well.
And when we are talking about the startup scaling in the Belgium region, is there any specific sectors wherein you are supporting the startups, or is it like sector agnostic predominantly?
In general, it's sector agnostic, I would say, but of course, there are certain sectors. We mentioned the clusters multiple times. If you're into life sciences, if you're into clean tech, if you're into anything that's related to digital, whether it's AI or SaaS products, I would say those, and the audiovisual sector, not to forget, those are 4 primary sectors in which there's a lot of scope of networking and finding a very sustainable ecosystem. If you're outside these sectors, we can always look at it. I would say Brussels is it's a city. So if you're coming with any big manufacturing plans, we can also help you in Belgium, but maybe not in Brussels. But don't hesitate. We'll be happy to have a look nonetheless. And we have formidable colleagues in Flanders and Wallonia as well. So Belgium is not a one-sector economy, or it's not like there are 2 or 3 sectors which are dominating the whole economy. So it's you'll find basically for any kind of sector activity, you'll find a sustainable environment.
Yeah, so my last question would be not from the startup perspective, but from the founder perspective. Like if I'm a founder, I would have this, language thing in my mind, right? So, Europe, different countries, they speak different languages, right? And when I am into that country, do I survive initially? Does my startup survive? Will I get enough funding? Will I get enough networks to connect with, right? So how Hub.Brussels is, supporting a founder on that perspective, and maybe, just not just from the language perspective, but beyond that, you have mentioned some of the support that you give to the founder. So maybe you can throw some light on that as.
So to surviving as a non-French speaker or non-Dutch speaker in Europe is not a big deal, because I lived in Europe for 4 years. I can differentiate between French and Dutch. That's my, like, the utmost like capability. I don't even speak Hindi. I speak Tamil and English. I'm linguistically disabled. Maybe artistic side of my brain doesn't work. So I find it really easy. Like, maybe not in the eastern part of Europe. I lived in Lithuania, like Poland, Germany, and then like ended up in Belgium. But like as a founder, like the business language is still English. So you can still like most of the conferences wherever you go. Like maybe sans a few one, like it might be in French or in Dutch, but like still like you can reach out to my colleagues there, like in the local region. Like we have offices across EU, if not in the entire world, like EU, like we have offices in Berlin, in Poland, in Copenhagen, in Paris, Lille, Barcelona, everywhere. So wherever you go, like you will have a local person sitting there and supporting you. So that's one. But like the other side of things, but like English, if you're just good with English, if you can, like practicality, like there's a lot, like the food differs, the climate differs, but like we will be, like practical side of things, we will still help. But like you have to like trust and jump in before you like plan everything.
Yeah, and maybe very important also, because of the presence of all the EU institutions, there are, as I mentioned, 200,000 expats for the EU. There is something called the Commissioner's Desk. They have installed it, I think, 15 or 20 years ago. They're basically to help the expat population with coping with all the administration, with all the practicalities of finding a school, of paying your taxes. So it's like a help desk that is there in the middle of the city where you can just go in without an appointment. And these people, I know them very well personally, they're very proactive. They will help you with any of the daily struggles you have, even with sorting garbage. They have all kinds of information guides, and then, yeah, you'll find a very conducive environment for being a newcomer into Brussels. And as I said, the Indian community is there. It's not as big as in London or in other places, but again, size can sometimes be an advantage. If you go to any of their receptions or networking events, it's very easy to get connected, and they'll invite you to any Diwali celebrations or other activities that are going on, and it will make your life easy because they can explain from an Indian point of view how they handled things in the past with their families and their kids and their worries, you could say.
Great. So with that, we can open up the questions from the audience side. Do you have any questions?
Just a comment. You should have added football as well in the slide. We love De Bruyne, Lukaku. Yeah.
Yes.
So
True.
yeah, my question is, we have a network of freelance developers here, like software developers. So we are actually getting projects from dollar-paying projects only. So that's what we are focusing. So we didn't created a company here. So what I'm planning right now is to start a company like this. In yesterday, I attended a session here from a speaker from Finland was here. So I was asking the same question. So how easy it is to implement this, like creating starting a company there, but maximum resources here in India, and you were talking about the visa, 2 type of visa. So can you speak on the cost of that visas, like how the cost for that? Like we were, yeah, we were thinking of with a minimum investment from here itself. So if it is successful, we can look for funding from there. So yeah.
So the yearly cost, like maybe I'll just break it down to the different costs associated. Like creating a company would cost around like say 2.5 lakh Indian rupees. So every month or like every quarter, like you have to like pay for a accountant to like cover the cost for the VAT filings. And then virtual office, it's somewhere around like maybe 9,000 rupees a month. So if you put together everything, these are the bigger costs without like epic investments. So it will be more like 5 lakh Indian rupees if you can run a virtual company for a first year. But as I told, like virtual office, you can still like you are eligible for traveling. But it can be like in a 180-day period, you can travel up to 90 days. So if you get a visa for the 6 months, from Jan 1st to June 30th, you can not stay more than 90 days. In the period of first 180 days, you can't stay more than 90 days. You have to come back to India, and then like after cooling period of 90 days, you can go back inside. So that's one. And then for the supports, you can just connect with the entire back office team should be in India, because like it doesn't make sense to move your entire team. It's really costly. It's still like hiring an AI engineer or like a DevOps engineer. It's really costly in Europe, and it's scarce too. And then like even that's the differentiation, like what you give to your customers. So you have your highly qualified, like maybe on a cheaper level too. You can keep your entire like team here, and then you travel as a founder, like network, and prospect all your customers in different tech fairs or conferences. Do your prospection, travel, and then like keep everything here. So in a lean level, you can still run a company for the first year, maybe 5 to 6 lakh maximum.
Yeah, and the most important question you have to ask yourself, does the timing make sense? I mean, don't rush these things. There's no point in burning cash up front when there's no connections or potential customers there yet. I mean, I did IT sales sitting from India to European customers. I did all the cold calling, all the emails. It works, it takes time, but it's worthwhile. And visiting fairs, as Arne said, is another way to do things, but don't start incorporation when there's nothing there to work with. That's just, I mean, it's not super expensive. Recurring costs are around 20,000 rupees each month, but make sure there's a solid base to start from. If you get like a few hot leads or prospects, then you can start thinking, and then it makes sense to have an address that they can build to. It will build trust in the region, but don't jump the gun, I would say. I don't know, maybe you explained it in the beginning, there was a lot of sound in the back, but if you don't have any existing clients yet or leads, I would say take your time. Bulgaria, okay. So if you already have a few customers, then it makes sense to start thinking about it, indeed.
Hello. The presentation was very good. Thank you for doing that. I'm asking you about open source. Do you have any specific program for open source with the AI? I'm thinking about a free open source startup, which is we plan to do for Edge AI. Do you have any specific program from your side? So
we got to know from a company in T-Hub, like they're traveling for the open source conference, which happens every year in VUB, at the University of Brussels. That's one. And then, but like there's, as I told you, there's Far AI Institute, so that they work like more. You don't need to be a company to partner with them. So they work hand in hand with the universities. So you can still apply for that one. But like if you want like really specific ones, I can connect with the other team, like which handles the internal like tech transfers and other ones.
My question is more towards the economic side of that. Basically, it has got a lot of economic level. It is a free open source and open thing. And is government promoting that, or do you have any program for open source?
Not I know of actually, because like even for analytics, so we have a program like sister like agency, it's an internal department called Analytics.Brussels. So it helps like open source data for all the retail companies and within Brussels region. So there might be something like with the BI team, like the internal BI team. We can exactly check, like based on your specific request, we can actually check and like let you know.
Thank you.
Thank you for the session. My name is Ruchin. First of all, I should thank Kerala Startup Mission for such an opportunity. The takeaway for me is first of all, I am listening about Brussels in this session only, so I should be in touch with Kerala Startup Mission for that such opportunity. Previously in 2018, I started a company actually in UK. So I was actually supposed to be in touch with a person in UK for that. He was actually from Kerala only, But over the period of time, I completely depend upon that person, and ended up in, I was forced to, quit from that company. That was my experience. But, since I am having this opportunity, I believe, I can directly maybe, target the UK market. But my question is, if I am able to be in touch with this Brussels, can I able to target the UK market? Because I'm having my product in nursing agency. I'm having clients in UK currently. I'm serving clients for the past 7 years over there. So language was my concern, but since he asked, I'm clear with that. But if I'm able to be, a part of Brussels, and if I'm able to set up a company, at least virtual over there, can I target completely into UK so that the UK people will be, the clients will be able to build the trust? Because as an Indian company from here, it's very tough to, build the trust from the UK. All my existing clients are from, Indian originally. So that was quite easy for me. My question is, can I get the, trust from the UK clients directly if I am being a part of Brussels? That's what.
No, indeed, we have the office in UK, where's the Belgium embassy in UK. So we have a trade department there, and then we have our colleague Samuel is there, sitting there, and then my counterpart, Maddie, she sits there. And then they have a couple of assistants there, so they will be happy to help you around. So there was a company again from Chennai, but they have an office in Brussels already. But even now, they are going through that channel to. So they are into education consulting, IT consulting, and business consulting. But for the education one, for reaching out to the universities, they directly wrote to the my office in UK, and then they are helping it actually. Even starting from the issuing the visa letter for the High Commission, British High Commission in Bangalore. So they're still helping. So I don't see a trouble you being accepted as a Belgian company. There are a lot of Indian companies who have full-fledged European headquarters based out of Brussels, but they are elsewhere everywhere. For example, I can show you one example from Kochi. So there's a company called Arjuna Natural Extracts. So they used to supply they are the leading producer of curcumin extracts, and then for the fish oil extracts and everything. But they used to supply through third party to the European ones. But they set up a company in Brussels, but they have 2 factories, one in Coimbatore, one in Alua. And then even they are supplying for all the big pharma companies like GSK, Pfizer and everyone for their the skincare, ointments and everything. But it's up to the product or the service what you provide. But if you have a local presence, the customers would be more open to engage you with, rather than having an office elsewhere, maybe in Kochi or Bangalore or elsewhere.
So with that, we are ditto on time. So thank you, Dharani, thank you, Arne, for that outstanding presentation and the effective discussion about how Belgium as a country has a lot to offer to India startup ecosystem. And my dear founders, please do consider this opportunity of setting up a startup Infinity. So we have this Infinity program. If you have anything related to scaling in Belgium and scaling in Europe through Belgium, please do reach out to Kerala Startup Mission team, and we will be happy to provide you much more details about the Infinity program. With that, I'm wrapping up this session. Honor to be on this panel, moderating you guys. Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot, my dear founders, to be on this session and attending the Huddle Global 2024. Thanks.
I would like to welcome Mr. Ako Shivan, Lead Corporate and Global Relations from KSM, to present the mementos to the speakers.